What's going on, everybody? Animal Man here. Today we're going to learn how to make a spile for tapping a maple tree out of sumac branches. And this is a huge area of sumac on the side of the road here. We're in a town called Sharon in Massachusetts. This is very common all around our state and states around me. And there's several different types of sumac. As long as it's not poison sumac, which grows in a swamp, you're okay. Smooth sumac, Staghorn Sumac are the most common that are around here, and they grow very commonly on the side of the road, and they grow in kind of these bunches. They're called clones, so they'll be higher up in the middle, but then when you get out to the side on the edge of the road, they're shorter. So on the edge of the road here, they're like 4 foot tall, so when you get back this way behind me, they're 8 or 9 foot tall. Typically you find them all the way up to 15 foot, though I have seen a few that get up to 30, but that would be considered rare. So most of the time you'll see the remnants of these red berry clusters that are kind of teardrop shaped, and they'll be at the tips of these twigs here, but the birds have already eaten them all this winter, so none of them are left in this case. So what you look for in this case is all of these growing kind of together in one area. You have to know the general shape of them and the habitat they like, and when you cut into it, that's also your proof positive for identification, because the wood is a beautiful yellow color and it's got a hollow inside full of tannish colored pith, and that's what makes it a great spile. So I look for one that's about thumb thickness. That's the right thickness for the diameter, and I look for a straight section without any knots or branches coming off the side. And I usually like to pick one that's growing in fierce competition with ones around it, so if we cut this, it'll help the ones around it. But this one, even if we cut it back to the base, it's still going to start to regrow anyway. So I'm going to cut this for you and show you exactly what I mean about the color of the wood and the pith. Alright, here we go. I always start at the top. We're going to lop the top part off we don't need, and then we're going to gradually take other pieces going down. And we do it this way, that way you have something sturdier to hold on to with it still rooted. So check this out. Here it is right here. Wear a glove so you don't slice your hand. I learned that the hard way. And we're going to cut straight through it. There it is. Let me show you the piece we just cut so you can see what I mean here about this pith. Let's refocus. So you can see the yellowish wood, and then the center part there. Let me grab a stick to show you. This is the pithy center. That we'll be able to hollow out later on. So we're going to cut this into anywhere from 4 to 6 inch sections, and right here, this will be our first one here. There it is. So you cut as many of these as you think you'll need. You can see it very, very well there, that pith in the center right there. And we'll get a whole bunch. So we're home now. First thing we've got to do to prepare this spile is we've got to get this pith out of the middle. And the best way I found to do that is to get a coat hanger, one of these metal coat hangers. And what we're going to do is we're going to use one of these pairs of pliers that has the cutting portion on the inside there. And we're going to just cut off the long section of this coat hanger. It's going to use this section here. So we're just going to clip it off. Boom. And we're going to put the rest aside. We don't need it. We're just going to work with this section here. It's got about a 12-inch section now we're going to work with. So there's the whole thing for you. So now we're going to bend about, I don't know, 2 inches of it. Bend it all the way over onto itself. Like that. And now twice the length of that, so about 4 inches. We're going to bend it again all the way onto itself. And now right in the center here, we're going to grab it, and I'll show this to you. There it is. So that just formed a handle for a poker. You can see how we hold that. And this is what you'll use to get the pith out of the center of this spile here. And believe me, if you're doing this in your hand, you want a glove in this hand, because I've poked through here and you start to get tired and you slip, and this will run right through your finger if you're not careful. So you either hold it in a glove, or I'm going to just put it in the vise here. And remember, the inside of this has just a pith, so you've got to not clamp it down that hard. that you're going to crush it. You want to hold it gentle. Pretty gentle, you know, firm enough so it's not going to move, but gentle. Just going to clamp it in there, just so it won't move. You begin to poke that pith all the way out. And I'm through. And you want to just keep on going, because the wider you can get the inside of this, the more of this pith you can get knocked out, the more sap flow can go through there. What I've noticed is if the hole is just barely through and there's a whole bunch of crud blocking the way, the tree cannot get enough pressure in that sap to force it through this hole. And if you get any sap, it'll just be a little bit, or you may not get any. So you want to widen this the best you can. And if you look at the way you cut this on the end, it's not going to be exactly even, so I always rotate it that way. Different part of this wire is hitting different parts of the inside. So this is what I do. Just get all that pith out the best you can. And then I'll go from the other end too. You'll see some pith starting to spit out this side. So there, see all that? And try to go all the way back. Make sure you get it out of the center part too, not just the end. Now let's check it. It's probably enough. And I'll blow through it just to get all the stuff out. And see if we can line it up so you can see. There you go. You can see light. Light at the end of the tunnel. So that's perfect. Right there. It's perfect. Now we're going to carve this. So the end that we're going to insert into the tree has to have a little bit of a taper to it. So we don't want to taper it that strongly, because it'll be hard to get it in the tree and it won't stay in. What I like to do is I use about a 5/8 inch drill bit to put it in. That seems to be about the good size, you know, the proper size. And you want it to be smaller than the thickness of your spile. So you can see that it's smaller. And we're going to taper it so that it gets a little bit smaller than 5/8 on the end. But not too much smaller. And the quickest, easiest way to taper this is with a draw knife. If you don't know what a draw knife is, I'm going to show it to you. Just got to unwrap it here. I keep a towel wrapped around it so I don't cut myself when I'm grabbing it. This is a draw knife. It's a woodworking tool. I use this to make my bows. Here's the draw knife. And you use it with two hands and you pull it towards you, and it shaves the wood off very, very easily and safely. And there it is. So you just want to taper the edge. And then when I'm done with this, I'll flip it over. Do the other side too. Want to taper it, that way we can use a mallet and get it in that tree. And you want it to be as round as you can. A round edge. Good. If you don't have one of these, you don't need it. You can use just a knife, and you can carve it. It's just a little bit, it takes a little bit longer. And if you're going to do this and you don't have a knife, or you want to teach your kids to do it, you can use a wood file. I've taught kids ages 10 and up probably several times how to make these, and I don't let them use a knife, but I let them use wood files if they're wearing gloves. So you can use a wood file. It just takes a little bit longer. Draw knife's the quickest. A knife takes a little bit longer. Files take the longest, but they all get the job done. So let's see. It's probably good. Let's take this drill bit and see. You can go a hair smaller. Make sure this will be able to get in the hole we're going to carve in our tree, drill in our tree rather. Just going to rotate this one more time through the other side. Good. I bet that's good. Yeah, so that should work. Now, the other end. Now this end, the sap is going to flow out of into our bucket. And all I do on this end is I'm going to cut it at a diagonal. And that helps to kind of relieve the pressure inside here. And it seems to like help the the sap flow out the end a little bit better instead of popping out the whole all at once. So all we're going to do is cut this at an angle. We're going to cut it down until, and you can see the beautiful yellow wood in there now, you can see that very well. Going to cut it down until we get to the open part. There it is. Whoops. Just like one more little cut there. Good. And that is it. The spile is ready to rock and roll. So that is it. It's a do-it-yourself spile from a sumac branch, or sapling rather. And you can reuse this year after year. You just wash it with soap and water, let it dry, and that is it.